Two gay best friends, both 18, and one secret that changes everything. I thought I knew everything about him. We grew up on the same street, played the same video games, skipped the same boring classes. We even came out around the same time, awkwardly, quietly, but together. We called each other brothers, soulmates, everything except what we actually were afraid to say. But the truth? It was hiding in plain sight. And one night, one secret, changed the way I saw him forever. What he told me didn't just shift our friendship. It shook everything I thought I knew about myself, too. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story that hits deep. What you're about to hear is personal, messy, and painfully real. And if you've ever had a friend who made your heart race, you might want to keep listening. I met River when we were 6. He moved in across the street with a backpack too big for his body and a scar on his knee he never explained. I still remember the way he smiled at me from his front porch like we already knew each other. From that day on, we were inseparable. Two shadows, always running ahead of the sunset, always laughing louder than we should. We were both 18 now, and somehow, nothing and everything had changed. The summer after graduation felt like a slow goodbye we didn't want to admit was happening. Everyone else was talking about moving away, starting new lives, chasing big dreams. But River and I stayed stuck in our small town like ghosts in an empty hallway. We hung out every day, same park bench, same energy drinks, same late-night walks around our block like the world stopped at the edge of the sidewalk. We'd both come out the year before, separately, quietly, to each other. "I guess I like guys," he had said, eyes on the pavement, foot tapping nervously. "Yeah," I had replied. "Me too." That was it. No drama, no deep confessions. Just two boys sharing the truth like they shared everything else. But something unspoken sat between us now. A weight. It started with the way he looked at me lately, longer than before, like he was searching for something I wasn't sure I could give. Or maybe it was the way I started noticing the curve of his jaw when he laughed, or how my chest ached a little when he mentioned going on a date with someone else. I didn't say anything. I didn't even let myself think about what it could mean. Because River was my best friend. And if I said the wrong thing, I could lose everything. That night, we were lying on the hood of my car in the middle of an empty field, staring up at the stars. The sky was full of them, but neither of us were really looking. He nudged my shoulder. "Remember when we were 13 and swore we'd go to college together?" "Yeah," I said. "You said we'd get a crappy apartment and fill it with fairy lights and cereal." He chuckled. I was serious. I turned my head toward him. "I know." The silence stretched. River spoke again, softer this time. "Do you ever think about what it would have been like if we were just a little braver?" I blinked. "Braver how?" He didn't answer. He just kept staring at the sky like the stars could translate what he couldn't say. My heart thudded hard in my chest. I wanted to ask him what he meant. I needed to, but fear held my mouth shut. I glanced at him again and saw the way his fingers had tensed slightly, like he was gripping the metal of the car just to stay grounded. He was about to say something. I could feel it. But then his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and sighed. "It's him." "Who?" "Lucas." I tried to keep my voice even. "The guy from the bookstore?" He nodded, then sat up, stretching. "He wants to hang out." "Oh," I said, swallowing hard. "You should go." River looked at me, searching my face. "You sure?" "No," but I nodded anyway. He stood slowly, brushed off his jeans, and gave me that same smile he had the first day we met. Then he hesitated. "I'll tell you something soon," he said quietly. "Something I should have said a long time ago." And then he walked off into the night, leaving me under a sky full of questions. I lay back, cold air pressing into my chest, wondering if what I thought I felt was real. And if it was, what was I going to do about it? Ferramentus. For 3 days, River didn't bring it up again. Not the stars. Not the thing he almost said. Not Lucas. It was like we'd hit pause on a conversation that never really got started, and no one wanted to be the one to press play again. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. The way his voice dipped when he said he should have told me something. The way he looked at me. Not just looked, but really looked, before turning to leave. Like he was trying to figure out if I could handle what he was holding back. I didn't know what it was, but I had theories. Dangerous ones. And the more I thought about it, the more I felt this ache in my chest that I couldn't explain. Or maybe I could. I just didn't want to admit it. Then came Friday. He texted me after dinner. "You home?" "Yeah. Want to come over? Be there in 10. I rushed around my room like I was expecting a date. I checked my hair, changed shirts, changed back. Sprayed cologne I hadn't worn in months. My hands were sweating. It was stupid. This was River. But somehow, everything felt different now. Like we were on the edge of something we couldn't name. When he arrived, he looked the same as always. Hoodie, ripped jeans, scuffed sneakers. But there was something in his eyes that made my breath catch. He dropped onto my bed like he belonged there. Like he always did. I sat in my desk chair across from him, trying to act normal. We watched YouTube clips for a while, laughed, talked about how weird it was that our friends were already moving away for college, all the usual things. But the silence between conversations felt heavier now, like something was waiting to be said. Eventually, River glanced at me and asked, "You ever think we missed our shot?" I looked up. "What do you mean?" He hesitated, then shook his head with a small laugh. "Never mind." "No, seriously," I said, my voice firmer than I expected. "What do you mean, River?" He sighed and sat up, leaning on his knees. "I just mean, we've been close for so long. Maybe too close. And now things are changing. And I don't know. Maybe there was something we never figured out. Something we just let sit there." I swallowed hard. "You're talking about us?" He nodded, slowly. "But you're seeing Lucas," I said. "Aren't you?" River stared at the floor. "It's not serious. We've hung out twice. He's nice. But he's not you." The room tilted slightly. My heart pounded so loud I was sure he could hear it. I couldn't believe he said that. I wanted to say something clever, something meaningful, but all I could manage was, "Why didn't you ever tell me?" River finally looked at me. His eyes were shining, soft and a little scared. "Because I didn't know if you felt the same," he said. "And if you didn't, I didn't want to ruin what we had." I stood up, walked to the edge of the bed, and sat down next to him. My shoulder brushed his. He didn't move away. I turned to him. "I don't know what I feel," I whispered. "But I know I think about you too much. And I know that when you said you had a secret the other night, I wished it was about me." River smiled gently. It was. Then he leaned in just slightly, and just as our lips almost met. A knock echoed through the house. I jumped. River blinked. We both turned toward my door. My mom called from the hallway. "River, Lucas is at the door. He said he's here to pick you up." Everything froze. River stood slowly, looking at me like he wanted to stay but didn't know how. "I should go talk to him," he said, voice low. I nodded, but inside I was screaming, because just when I thought I finally had an answer, I was left with 1,000 more questions. He didn't come back that night. After he left with Lucas, I stayed in my room, lights off, replaying every second of our almost kiss. My lips still tingled from how close they'd gotten. My thoughts felt like they were on fire. My hands couldn't stop shaking. He said the secret was about me, that it had always been about me. So why did he leave? I knew I had no right to be jealous. River had never promised me anything. He hadn't said he was mine. We weren't even dating. But something inside me cracked wide open, and suddenly the ache I'd been pretending wasn't there was all I could feel. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat much the next day either. I ignored his texts, even though I wanted to answer every one of them. "You awake? Last night was weird. Can we talk? I'm sorry, please." I left them unread, because I didn't know what I wanted to say. Was I angry? Hurt? Just scared? All of it, maybe. That night, around 11, I heard the gravel shift outside. I peeked through the blinds, and there he was, standing at the bottom of my porch steps, in a hoodie and sweatpants, like he'd been walking for miles. I opened the door before I could talk myself out of it. He looked up at me with tired eyes. "Hey." I leaned against the doorframe. "Lucas drop you off?" He shook his head. "We broke things off. I ended it." "Why?" He stared at me. "You know why." I stepped aside and let him in. He walked straight into my room like he'd done 100 times before, but this time, everything was different. My heart was racing again, my stomach a mess. I closed the door and turned to him. "You said last night the secret was about me." He nodded slowly. "What did you mean?" River took a deep breath and sat on the edge of my bed. "I mean, I've liked you since we were 16. I tried to ignore it, then I tried to date other people to forget. But every time I looked at you, it just hurt, because I never knew if you felt it too." I didn't know how to respond. My chest was so tight it felt like breathing hurt. He looked up at me. "Do you?" I took a step forward, then another, and then I sat beside him. Our arms touched. The heat between us was electric, familiar, terrifying. "I don't know what to call it," I said, "but when I'm not with you, everything feels off. And when I am, I'm constantly waiting for you to touch me, or look at me the way you do when you think I'm not paying attention." He laughed under his breath. "So you did notice." "I always noticed." I reached for his hand, something we'd done 1,000 times before, but this time I didn't let go. River's fingers tightened around mine, and then, without speaking, he leaned his head onto my shoulder. We stayed like that for a while, just breathing in sync, hands laced, heads spinning. It wasn't a kiss. It wasn't a confession. It was something quieter, stronger, a promise made without words. But just as I closed my eyes, heart finally calming, my phone buzzed on the dresser. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. And again, 3 texts, all from the same name. "Mom, we need to talk when you're done with your friend." "Mom, I found the messages." "Mom, I need to understand what's going on with you." Suddenly, the room wasn't safe anymore. Suddenly, it felt like the walls were listening. River lifted his head. "Everything okay?" I couldn't answer, because the one thing I'd feared was finally here. We weren't a secret anymore. And I didn't know if that was a good thing, or the start of something that could ruin everything. I locked myself in this bathroom for 20 minutes. I didn't cry, I didn't yell. I just sat there on the cold floor staring at my reflection in the mirror, searching for the version of me that would know what to do right now. My mom's texts were still glowing on my phone screen like quiet alarms. We need to talk. I saw the messages. I need to understand what's going on with you. She didn't mention River by name, but she didn't have to. She knew. Somehow, she knew. Maybe she saw a message we forgot to delete. Maybe she heard something last night. Maybe she just noticed. The way I looked at him. The way we lingered too close when we thought no one was watching. Whatever it was, it didn't matter. The world I was trying to understand at my own pace had just been pulled into the light, and I wasn't ready for it. I walked back into my room with a tight chest and shaky hands. River was standing near the window, his hands in his pockets. "Everything okay?" "My mom knows," I said. He froze. "Knows what, exactly?" "That there's something happening between us. That I feel something. That maybe you do too." He looked down at the floor, rubbing the back of his neck. "Do you want me to go?" "No," I swallowed. "But maybe we need to be more careful." He nodded. "You scared?" "Yes." "Of me?" I looked at him. "Of losing this." The room went quiet. He took one step toward me, then another, as if each movement was a question he wasn't sure I'd answer. When he reached me, he placed a hand on my waist. Light, gentle, careful. "You're not gonna lose me," he said softly. But we both knew it wasn't just about him. The next morning, my mom asked to talk. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't even angry. That made it worse. "Are you in love with him?" she asked, no hesitation. I hesitated. Yeah, I think I might be." She was quiet for a long time, not upset, just disappointed, or maybe confused. "You could have told me," she said. "I'm your mom." I wasn't sure, I told her. "I'm still figuring it out." She nodded slowly. "Well, now I know. And now you know. So, you decide who you want to be." Then she walked away. Later that day, River met me at the old park where we used to hang out as kids. He was waiting by the swings when I got there. The second he saw me, he smiled. That same stupid, soft smile he always gave me when I was trying too hard to act okay. "She knows," I told him. "And you?" "I know now, too." He stared at me, like trying to read every word I didn't say out loud. Then, slowly, he reached for my hand. In public, no hiding. And for the first time, I didn't flinch. Maybe the world could see us now. But if he was standing beside me, I was ready to be seen. We met at the lake right after sunset. I'd texted him hours earlier. Just 2 words. "Come here." He didn't ask questions. He never did. And when I arrived, he was already sitting at the end of the dock with his shoes off, ankles skimming the water, hoodie pulled over his head. It had been a week since my mom found out. A week since I told him I knew. And still, something hung between us. Something half open, half terrified. I walked down the dock, slow, unsure of what to say, but River beat me to it. "I thought maybe you changed your mind," he said quietly, eyes still on the water. "I didn't." "Then why did it feel like you were slipping away again?" I sat down beside him, close but not touching. "Because I was scared," I said. "Because part of me still is." He turned to look at me. "Of what?" I exhaled. "Of being honest. Of letting this become real. Of what people will say. Of what I'll lose if we mess this up." River nodded. His knee bumped against mine, just barely. "You won't lose me. Even if we crash and burn, I'll still be your friend. I'll still care." I looked at him, really looked. How can you be so sure? He gave me the faintest smile. Because I've already loved you from a distance. Anything closer is a gift. My heart cracked open right there. I reached for his hand, no hesitation this time, and laced my fingers with his. We sat in silence, letting the lake do the talking. The wind carried the scent of pine and old summer memories. I remembered the time we swam here in 8th grade, chasing each other into the water, laughing so hard I thought we'd choke. I remembered the time he'd sat beside me on this dock after I failed my math final and said, "Screw it, we're going to be rock stars anyway." Every version of us lived in this place, but this was the first time we were here as something more. After a while, River leaned his head on my shoulder. "I told my sister about us." My body tensed. "What did she say?" "She said, about time." I laughed. "Seriously? She's known for months. Said she caught me doodling your name in a notebook like some lovesick idiot." I shook my head, grinning. Then he turned toward me. "Can I finally do it?" I knew what he meant. My chest tightened, but I didn't pull away. "Yeah," I whispered. He leaned in slowly, like giving me time to change my mind. But I didn't. I couldn't. And when our lips met, it wasn't fireworks or a movie moment. It was soft, careful, real. The kind of kiss that says, "I've been waiting a long time to know if this was ever okay." When we pulled apart, neither of us said anything right away. We didn't need to. His thumb brushed across my knuckles, and then my phone vibrated. A new message from someone I didn't expect. "Dad, we need to talk. Call me." I stared at the screen, my stomach turning. River noticed. "Everything okay?" I looked at him, at the lake, at the stars slowly blinking to life above us. "I don't know," I said, "but I guess we're about to find out." I called my dad that night. His voice was calm, too calm. "I saw your mother's texts," he said. "I just want to understand what's going on." I stood outside with the phone pressed to my ear, watching River through the window as he flipped through a book on my bed like he belonged there. And he did. I took a breath. "There's someone. It's River." Silence. Then my dad said, "I figured." "You did?" "I may not understand everything," he admitted, "but I know the way you talk about him. I've seen the way you look at him. You don't look at anyone else like that." Tears stung my eyes, not from pain, but from relief. "Thanks," I whispered. "I love you, kid," he said. "That's never gonna change." When I went back inside, River looked up. "How'd it go?" I smiled. "He knows. And he's okay." River set the book down and opened his arms. I walked straight into them. In that moment, I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't hiding. I was choosing. Choosing him. Choosing me. If this story meant something to you, if you've ever loved someone quietly or feared what the world might say, know this. Your story deserves to be seen. Your feelings are valid. And the courage it takes to be real is the kind that changes lives. So tell me, what would you say to someone if you knew they'd love you anyway? If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and turn on notifications. Share it with someone who's still figuring it out. Because sometimes the bravest thing we can do is feel.